This chapter was really all about Zabuza trying to get into Kakashi's head and make him think that he was going to be vulnerable to attack.
Naruto, number 26, Sharingan Devastation.
Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the awesome and action-packed tale of Naruto. Now, I know that I'm doing a Naruto review and I have a One Piece shirt on. I think it's okay. I like a lot of different things. No big deal. Anyway, our last chapter, in all seriousness, our last chapter left us, of course, just kind of balls deep, so to speak, in the midst of the fights that are going on. Sasuke and Naruto, of course, are caught inside of that ice mirror thing that Haku has going on, that trap, and then, of course, the end of the chapter was pretty much Kakashi, and Zabuza being right up face to face, toe to toe, and Kakashi being like, "Yeah, I'm gonna pull out that Sharingan eye, and we're gonna end this shit now," So this chapter was called Sharingan Devastation. And honestly, I don't know. I didn't see it. I didn't see it in the chapter. I was hoping for some just crazy type of stuff, but ultimately, I think that's probably going to wind up happening maybe a couple chapters down the road. Because really, what happened is Zabuza goes and as Kakashi's going to pull, obviously pull up his headband that sits over his one eye. Zabuza uses that opportunity to attack. Actually goes and winds up, kind of going to stab into him, and Kakashi blocks it looks like, with his hand, and there's just kind of some back and forth, but ultimately, Zabuza, this is kind of like, this is his turn to play the mind games with Kakashi, right? He talks about Haku, and first of all, he says, first off, even if you beat me, doesn't matter, because Haku is the best. I beat into that kid from the time that he was a toddler, the ways of the shinobi, and just to basically take it to the next level. And this kid is better than me, better than you. You know what I mean? It knows more powerful. And then also mentioned too, obviously has that inherent trait, the skill of the Kekkei Genkai. So very cool stuff the way it's all explained. But again, this is kind of the shit talking part of the fight for Zabuza, because Zabuza goes and he explains, as they're fighting and he's going and doing different attacks, and then he eventually disappears and everything else. Kakashi winds up eventually pulling out the Sharingan eye, and but he explains to him that last time when they fought, Haku was observing everything, right, from a distance in that whole fight. And he goes and he pulls out and calls out every weakness that this Sharingan eye has, this mirror eye. And he says, you basically time things and you wait for people's, you study people's movements based on this and that, and then copy certain movements to go and kind of throw them off guard, and to also go and start to kind of instill and bring some fear in them. And then just when you feel that they're at the height of their self-doubt and their fear, right, because they're like, oh my God, what's going on? This guy's copying my moves. You then go and use that to basically make me, the person you're fighting against, make your opponent use tells, signs obviously, of what type of move they're going to do, so then you can counter it with that and make it look like you read the future and you see what's going to happen in the future. And like I said, this is the mind games part that he's playing on Kakashi, because he's like, you can't read the future, you can't do that. So basically what happened is, after the last fight, while he was recovering, Haku probably went over the playbook with him, and said, this is what he does, this is what he does, and they came up with countermeasures. And some of the countermeasures are, number one, Zabuza just closing his eyes. If he can't go and see anything with him that Kakashi's trying to pull on him, then hey, but then he says, well, yeah, but then I realize that now, obviously, I don't have my visual acuity to actually see things. However, there's real thick mist and everything around them, which is obviously covering some of his attacks and everything else. And he also winds up explaining that he's a stealth assassin. Okay, he relies on using sound more than sight anyway, because of being stealth and just kind of being low key to be able to get in, shank somebody and get out. And I just thought it was all done very well. There was a lot of in-depth explanation, and whether what he's saying to Kakashi is true about the Sharingan eye, or whether it's partially true or not, I don't know at this point, but it all sounds believable and plausible. And anybody who's ever been in like a debate or an argument, or a debate and an argument that then goes and leads into some kind of altercation, physical, that there's a certain point where the talking part is over. And for me, that was always one of those things where it was like, it was sooner rather than later. It was like, you know what, that's it. If your intention is just to go and to fight, I'll give you a fight. I'm not going to sit and talk and debate about it with you. But a lot of people, they wind up using that mental toughness and they play these mind games on you. They go and they make you believe that they, and I mean, it's done all over all over the world over. I mean, in boxing and UFC, a lot of it is, it's mental. It really is. It's mental intimidation. It's, hey, you know what? I studied your playbook and I know the type of move you do when your leg is weakened or when you're winded or when you get in too close and somebody who's got longer, a longer range or a solid uppercut or whatever the case may be. I mean, you can use really any type of, any type of competitive sport, I guess, or anything that it's like combative as well. But even competitive sports, when people are going against each other, they study that, football, soccer, baseball, hockey, everything, you study your opponent's weaknesses, and then a lot of times it really is, it's an intimidation factor that you do. So that's what I took from this whole chapter, because ultimately it's a bit of back and forth, and really there's a point where Kakashi almost seems worried. He's like, you know what, I've been focusing on training with Sasuke and Naruto too much, and I've kind of become a little lax. I've become almost a little soft. I gotta nut up or shut up over here, and I gotta take this guy out, Zabuza, though, at one point, Sakura is tasked with protecting Mr. Tizuna, and what's it say? He winds up coming in and appearing behind. He's doing all kinds of really cool, just ninja type things, obviously. But he winds up appearing behind him and looks like he's going to get the drop on him. And Kakashi gets in there and and is able to try to block. And it's just it's really amazing. You only see Naruto and Sasuke a couple of times during the course of it, and they're still trapped in here. They're still being attacked by Haku. But Sasuke's trying to tell Naruto, listen, number one, we got to be on our A game here and figure out where the weakness is and how we can take him out. We can't just rely on Master Kakashi to take everybody out, right? And that's number one. And number two, the attacks are slowing down. They're becoming weaker. They're not as strong. So he's got to be running out of chakra at some point. The fuel tanks have got to be running low, And it's kind of cool because at the end of the chapter, Sasuke goes and Haku mentions something about how Sasuke is able to read, is just dodging some of his mortal attacks that would mortally wound him and stuff like that. And it seems to actually be getting faster and picking up speed throughout this fight. And really, it seems like Haku's almost, I don't know if it's like nervous of Sasuke's abilities or afraid, or if it's just more like a respect type of thing, like, wow, I didn't think that you had this much in you. I can't tell at this point. I just know that it's going to wind up coming to a head here in a climax, probably in the next couple of chapters. I'm assuming I'm wrapping up towards the end of this volume, of volume 3, and then of course I'll be diving into volume 4. But it really seems like in the next few chapters this is going to kind of come to a head. So all in all, a very, very good chapter. And like I said, what I got from it is very much like the intimidation chapter. You learned a little bit about, hey, listen. And I liked how Zabuza did that too. He's like, even if you defeated me, right, it doesn't matter because Haku's a badder mother, than everybody else. So I definitely thought that was very cool. My chapter question, though, for you is, brothers and sisters, is really, what are your thoughts on Zabuza and his way of attempting to kind of intimidate Kakashi and hopefully kind of put him back on his heels, maybe cause some self-doubt and things like that, and just causing just a split second, in something like this that's all based on stealth and speed and timing, just to cause a split second of a hesitation could mean the difference between life and death. So I'd like to know what your thoughts are on that, brothers and sisters, in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you should think that I deserve it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We will look forward to catching all of you in the next Nation.
So I definitely think that you should follow me over on Facebook and Twitter as well.